Hello and welcome to the Dadley Boys present Sacrilege Corner. I'm Michael Sidgwick, joined by Michael Hamflett, fellow Dadley boy, where we get a little bit too real. But before we get into it, if you're a fan of this sort of thing, make sure to subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube for daily wrestling podcasts where we preview and review Raw, SmackDown, the show formerly known as NXT 2.0, Dynamite, Collision, pay-per-views, premium live events, question and answer time. We have wrestling roundtable discussions just like this one. We have wrestler interviews on occasion, and we host a roundup of the week complete with a bloody good quiz of course on WrestleCulture. We said daily wrestling podcasts. That's not entirely true of wAcKy Summer, which I suspect we'll be balls deep into at this point because this is a podcast in the can. We are recording this on the 22nd of July. And the idea is, if you're long-time listeners, you'll know at this point that we've got various responsibilities. We're not the Sunley boys. We're not the young children boys. We are the Dadley boys.
Terrible names.
We have parental responsibilities. A lot of that really tends to overlap in the summer, 6-week summer holidays. Those kids ain't looking after themselves just yet. So we're going to be off at the same time quite a bit. So regular coverage will be disrupted certain days. So the idea is, this is from the past. We are putting stuff in the can for when there are going to be days when sadly there won't be a Raw review or a Dynamite review, but we have decided to get ahead of it on occasion with some golden pre-recorded podcasts. Now, the inspiration behind this particular edition of Get the Table, the Dadley Boys present, is basically it's an excuse to be contrarian. Just get those things that you need to get off your chest. You're wrong, and I'm right. That kind of deal, you know, those contrarian opinions. Basically, it's the audio version of, if you're unfortunate enough to be chronically addicted to Twitter, cum X, you'll see this kind of thing as a prompt virtually everywhere. It's like film. What film opinion gets you like this?
Yeah.
I don't know, what Pokemon opinion, I don't know anything about this sort of stuff. What anime opinion, again, I don't know anything. Usually the tits aren't jiggling enough. That kind of stuff, you know?
In anime?
From what I see.
All right.
It's all like absolute Perv City Jones.
All right. Okay.
Away from Ghibli, it gets pretty perverted.
And
from what I see, you know? Yeah. And I don't see any of it. I'm not a big fan.
I bet that Porco Rosso can shake his ass. Never seen the film.
Porco Rosso is incredible. So basically, you'll have seen the prompt. If you haven't, is it Hercules, the Disney film where the guy, the animated fella, has like about 100 swords to his throat? And the idea is, what opinion do you firmly believe, but it goes against the grain of consensus? We're here to do a feature-length edition, therefore, of Don't Hurt Me, Sacrilege Corner. We've got 3 very, very, can we say that? Takes.
They're gonna.
And we're gonna start with me and then go to Hamflett, to me, to you, to me, to you, to me, to you. And then we've got one at the end, which I think will be a particularly fiery debate. We might even do a second one of these because I'm sure I've forgotten some.
Oh yeah, different ones come up all the time based on what's happening.
And if I get reminded, I'll think, no, you were wrong and I was right. God damn it! Here is a biggie. Okay, it's not called Be Nice Corner. It's not called Let's Just Agree on Everything Corner. It's called Sacrilege Corner.
Those other 2 podcasts are also in the can.
And this is particularly sacrilegious because, bear in mind, this is a nuanced take. Please also bear in mind, don't hurt me, that I actually really like this match and the pay-per-view in general, and I believe it deserves a lot of, not merely some, a lot of, but I don't even think most of this like vaunted legacy this WWE or WWF pay-per-view has. The 1992 Royal Rumble is not that star-studded, and the Rumble generally is overrated. Now, long-time listeners will know of not a disdain, but just I find the Royal Rumble a bit of, particularly these days, an outdated concept. I think they are too long, they're too slow, they're too overproduced. I think the idea of having some knackered people hover by the ropes in the background as people run through some spots in this more hyper-athletic, fast-paced wrestling world is a bit old-fashioned. You would see the likes of, I don't know, like friggin' Typhoon. It's going to take you bloody ages to get him over the ropes. Dragon Lee, for example, shouldn't be lounging by that turnbuckle, getting punched or whatever. I want to see some urgency, some real suspense, some like heart-stopping, like use your physical gifts and what you can do rather than just do boring slouching in the corner. I think it's in dire need of an update. I understand genuinely, why it is such a huge attraction, why it has such staying power, why I would agree, probably if there is such a thing as objectivity, if there is an objective best gimmick match of all time, it is the Royal Rumble, even though I personally get bored by many of them. So that's my problem with the Rumble. And until this year's All In, when, as Hamflett very insightfully pointed out, was kind of a half a Rumble, but with pins, the urgent, shorter AEW Casino Gauntlets understood how to do a Battle Royal style match, but with modern work.
Yeah.
So I love them. The Rumble, not so much. As it pertains to the 1992 edition, here's something funny, right? If this goes out in like August or whatever, we might have already dropped this bit by then.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be like it's sort of a memory of bits. Not that we do them, but you know what I mean.
A bit capsule.
A bit capsule.
Yeah.
Yeah. As it pertains to the 1992 Royal Rumble, Flair's speech is amazing. Bobby Heenan is amazing. Flair's individual performance elevates it as one of the all-time great Rumbles with an all-time great narrative through line. The first time they really just had a big theme for it.
Yeah.
The stakes, obviously, it was for the belt. It was for everything, okay?
3 was when Monsoon was just like reading the last rites.
Yeah.
Well, he's not winning.
Yeah.
We've never even come close to that.
Yeah.
Not even anyone in the bottom 20s.
That's the thing as well. That's a great point to make as well, because you forget how impressive an achievement it actually was. Obviously, Flair could work hour-long matches on not even on telly in his sleep. But if you're like, I don't know, like a 6, 7, 8-year-old WWF fan, you can't comprehend matches going that long. Really, this is what 4 years before the Iron Man.
Yeah.
What was the longest WWF match before then?
Crikey. Yeah.
Non-Rumble.
You might get like an odd 20-minute main event on occasion.
Yeah.
Hogan Warrior.
Yeah.
Went surprisingly long.
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like a big match at WrestleMania.
Epics, yeah.
But like not an hour or close to it. So it is a massive thing. And it actually registers. It's an actual achievement, and it's never been done in storylines. Nowadays, it's just a way. One of these hollow devices that the Rumble uses to get someone, air quotes, over. Oh, they've been in there for 50 minutes. Oh, they've eliminated this many people. They've been in there since the number 3 spot, and they've lasted 5 hours under Paul Levesque. It used to mean something. It meant something then. Almost everything they say about the 1992 Royal Rumble, artistically, stylistically, whatever, it's correct. Great match. What I have an issue with as it pertains to the 92 Rumble is this idea of, God, look at the star power and the general legacy left by the 1992 Royal Rumble. I think it's because it's one of the few times you see Hogan and Flair in the same ring, interacting directly, you know, the most star-studded Rumble. Look at the field of names. It is much better as almost like literally the poster, a collage of the stars you grew up watching and thought were massive, and in many cases were. But it's better as the poster in terms of who was a star at the time, like who's genuinely a major star in professional wrestling. In January 1992, this business was kind of getting very close to being on its arse. Commercially, the scandals follow very quickly. Like there's already rumblings of a scandal.
Yeah.
So it's kind of on its arse commercially. The idea that, you know, it was a huge big time thing with loads of stars. The amount of nostalgia that sort of warps this narrative is really quite something. And just to back that up with a little data, okay, It's not as if, they had the Annus Horribilis in 1992 and things got great from there. Like anyone with even like a dim understanding of WWE history knows it isn't not until 1998 do the fortunes really improve, commercially anyway. So 1993 was hardly a better year. You had WrestleMania 9. The 1992 Royal Rumble drew 260,000 buys. That is no good. The 1993 Royal Rumble, 300,000.
Yeah.
It is outdrawn by a Rumble that is considered worse, and for obvious reasons it is. So it's not as if these stars were flexing their star power to draw,
Bear in mind that the Rumble was for the title.
Yeah.
So the Rumble itself had more muscle. 93 was the first year that you had the number one contender going to Mania, and Brett and Razor, but Brett is kind of justifiably considered not really a drawing champion, especially in that first reign.
Yeah.
The actual main event that at this point is 4 years established is for the belt.
Yeah.
So that might as well be a double main event.
Yeah.
Rumble plus Rumble creates champion.
Yeah.
2 reasons to buy.
I will mention as well, for context, and to be fair, I don't want to just say things, This follows 2 schmoz world title matches at Survivor Series on this Tuesday in Texas. So maybe there is a sense of like suspicion, doubt that they're actually going to crown a champion, or if they do, how long's that champion going to last? The title and its credibility have taken a battering across November and December. So maybe there's a lack of trust in the audience for the WWF to do this. But whatever, let's go and try and destroy this myth of the most star-studded. Again, it's going to look amazing on the poster when you see the cartoon renderings of these massive stars. It looks like, genuinely, if you had like sort of a bookazine and you go to the airport or you go to W.H. Smith's or Barnes & Noble and you see like superstars of the 1980s and you look at like some of the names on here, it's going to look like that's what the cover of the Rumble 92 looks like. Think of the decade as well, right? If it was the most star-studded Rumble ever, it would be drawn more than 260,000, put it that way. Let's go through. So got British Bulldog. He's on the cusp of the biggest year of his career.
Yep.
Genuinely a sensation. Short-lived fad, but you can't deny how big it was at the time. A sensation in the United Kingdom, like proper mainstream crossover star. So I'll give you Bulldog, massive star in 1992. Ted DiBiase was not a big star in 1992. No, he wasn't. One of the big stars, most memorable characters of the golden age in the WWF in the 1980s. In 1992, he's reached the end of his shelf life as a character. He's done the Virgil stuff. He's not done much after that. And he's kind of just there at this point to make up the numbers. They're not They're not putting Ted DiBiase in a singles match.
Is this the point? Is DiBiase an inflection point here to your argument where the idea of a name once having value is sort of clustered in by a bunch of people that maybe weren't living through it or simply read it on as you're doing?
Or just simply they have such a huge sentimental attachment to these wrestlers that they don't consider where they were in January 1992 when they talk of them as mega stars.
You could gather 30 wrestlers of legendary status at various different points in their careers at a WrestleCon, but that wouldn't make it the most star-studded WrestleCon ever. It would just
that's
be the 30
a great
wrestlers
point.
would be there.
Yeah.
Because everyone's careers go
You could do WrestleCon 2025, put some of these names in,
Yeah.
Flair wasn't a huge draw in the WWF. The early house show results with Hogan didn't even sell out the first. Vince McMahon was in fact so spooked by the lack of drawing power of that combination that he didn't go with it for WrestleMania 8. Obviously, living legend, as good once as he ever was, but he was a bigger star in the 1980s, put it that way. Jerry Saggs, I love the Nasty Boys. I think they're one of the most underrated tag teams of all time. But no. Haku, I mean, I don't want to say this out loud, but not a massive star in 1992.
No.
Very close to his, like the amount of people who are like so close to the way out.
Yeah.
Like Haku, when did he stop?
He left in 1992 because he was Meng by 94, absolute latest. So they're basically the second chapter of his career really as a mainstream wrestler.
Yeah.
The Haku days were as good as that.
Absolutely. Shawn Michaels, he's just turned.
Yeah, just.
But he's not a star in 1992. He's not even good, really, in 1993.
His first on-screen appearance as
the boy
Heartbreak
toy.
Kid.
Yeah.
On
So
the
it's
show.
like, there's a nice bit of history there.
Yeah.
But he's not a star in 92. To be fair, even 1993 doesn't have a great year, especially on pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Like Tatanka, not great. Perfect, monumental disappointment. Jannetty, famously not it.
Flowered.
Yeah. Tito Santana, no, not a star in 1992. But again, because he looks like the Tito Santana of old, you might conflate that. Barbarian, underrated, not a star. Texas Tornado, like, I loved him as a kid, but his heyday's over as well.
Yeah.
Repo Man, with apologies to Simon Miller, he is not a star. He's a star in Simon Miller's
Smash
heart.
was a bigger one.
Yep, certainly was. Again, it's like, it's closer to Heroes of Wrestling than the most star-studded field of all time.
Yeah.
Or it's somewhere in the middle, to be a bit less facetious.
Yeah, just sorry, as a pause there. Where are we at?
I've got like 20 more names.
No, no. Where are we at to those offering the opposing argument? They are right now telling you, but it's got Ric Flair, and Ted DiBiase, and Kerry Von Erich, and Davey Boy Smith. So even on their argument, that's 4 from 10.
Yeah.
That's less than a 50% on their argument.
Yeah.
Of 4 of the biggest at one point in their careers.
I think like
But you're still already under 50, batting under 50%
Yeah.
after the first 10.
Another thing to consider as well is we then go on to have rumbles where the WWF ain't good star-wise or business-wise for much of the 1990s until, again, we get to 1998. Because we have that youngster, Carlos Colon. We have, AAA, can you give us some bodies, please, so we can literally make it to 30. 1998, they have to build it around how is Austin going to win? Not who's going to win, but how can Austin possibly win?
I was going to get past these 28 geeks in The Rock.
Yeah.
That's what I want to know.
You know what I mean? Exactly. And then you've got, the Samoan SWAT team rock up.
96, yeah.
And who's there? Amari, All Japan Pro Wrestling.
Excuse you, Vince.
Who the hell is that?
Yeah.
I think, again, the relative star power helps as well because these guys look like, the Bookazine cover in 92 compared to Amari, All Japan Pro Wrestling.
Yeah.
Like Dory Funk.
Dory Funk Jr., yeah. Dick Murdoch, I think, works the 95 one.
Yeah.
What are you doing here?
Anyway, we'll go down through the list. Nikolai Volkov, Heroes of Wrestling tier. Yeah. Big Boss Man doesn't last a year. No, he lasts January 93.
Rumble 93 is his last
Rumble 93, so January 93. Again, on the way out, he's had his heyday. He's had his Saturday night's main event. Love him, but, Hercules, I'm surprised he's still around.
Yeah, it was the February or March of 92 that he does that non-job to Sid where he gets up from the powerbomb in Madison Square Garden and walks the hell out the territory.
Roddy Piper has a pretty good year in 1992.
He would go on that list, I would say.
Yeah. He's on that list, and he's
he's 99. He's just won the Intercontinental title on this show.
Yeah,
he's the only guy to win both titles.
He's about to have one of the first true WrestleMania classics, and even Piper, to be fair, goes on 1994 runs not great, but he does great business and great promos in WCW in late 96. So he's like a forever star, really.
Based on this Rumble performance, I mean, across the whole pay-per-view and WrestleMania 8, like with those two shows, 1992 is comfortably Roddy Piper's best ever year.
Yeah. So. And he didn't visit Portland once, unless it's for a Superstars taping, okay?
It's good stuff.
Jake Roberts doesn't last the year.
No.
And he's pretty finished at this point.
Well, he's peaked.
Well, no, I'll lie. He is finished in the WWF. Jake Roberts' work for the nascent AAA rave reviews. Rave reviews for his stuff there.
Smoky Mountain and AAA heel stuff that's in between.
Yeah.
But, like, I would actually argue peak of his powers because it's a month after the Cobra bite and you're thinking,
what, I'll give Jake
and Randy Savage, if you'd wanted to, you could have got
what, on reflection, I'll give you Jake Roberts. We're still talking 5 or 6 here.
Yeah.
Jim Duggan is essentially mascot.
It's the DiBiase tier again. There was once a time, but it's not that time.
There was once a time. It's no longer the time. He's always good for a ho and a reaction, but come on, let's be real. Erwin R. Shyster, next. Jimmy Snuka, I don't want to say next. I don't want to conflate them at all. But genuinely, Snuka, I mean, he was considered, and this is the disgraceful thing about the Fed and Jimmy Snuka. 1983. Should we have Jimmy Snuka headline? There's a really good reason why we shouldn't. Yeah, it's because he's too old.
Correct.
I mean, I'm not being funny. That is genuinely what happened there. So if he was considered too old and kind of past it by 83, let's go with Hogan in 92. He's completely finished. But again, he's got that lionized status because of what he did in the company that he worked for and all the rest of it. The Undertaker is becoming an attraction, and, you know, he was always a big-ass deal.
Yeah.
I might give you that, but you ain't drawn flies to a flea market in 1992, I'll tell you that much. Randy Savage. It's hard to say he's never a star.
Yeah.
Especially when we've said it on multiple podcasts, like, they could have got loads more out of him.
There aren't many that drop in any pay-per-view in any year and still feel like the top guy, and Randy Savage is one.
Indeed. Okay. Happy to give you Savage. I'll give you a third of them for my argument. The Berserker is, you know, just a gimmick. A fondly remembered gimmick because he wrestled in front of you in your childhood, and that goes, in my opinion, way too far. Virgil is on the back of his one really good year.
Yeah.
But he's bad.
Yeah.
And he's not a star. Rest in peace. He had one great year, and not enough people give you credit for that. Colonel Mustafa.
I mean, he ain't the Iron Sheik no more.
He ain't the Iron Sheik no more.
Yeah.
And he's had his gross exploitative Twilight Years cameo stuff.
Yep.
It's dead by 1992.
Mm-hmm.
Rick Martel, again, not long for this world, has that wonderful business in 1991, but
he's the Reader's Wives wrestler of the Ball Noah community, Rick Martel. But Rick Martel. And yeah, it's all from like an entirely different company. I'm a model guy, but like
we're both gear guys, and his lilacs and his those like bluey silvers, wonderful attire.
Good character performer.
Yeah.
Just not.
I remember Martel vividly as a kid, just thinking, you arrogant prick. Like, the conditioning worked on me when I was like 8 years old. I don't know how it still works on you at 40.
Still living and loving.
Number 26. It's Hulk Hogan.
Kind of a big deal.
Kind of a big deal. At the arse end of 1992, he completely loses his mind and drawing power all at once.
Correct. And on this pay-per-view specifically, when they showed highlights of the finish, they had to completely re-edit the sound and make you ignore the crowd who were cheering his elimination by Sid and Ric Flair to be like, no, I want Hogan to get the main event of WrestleMania. Yeah. Because the fans were turning on him as of this pay-per-view. Yeah. They were kind of turning on him at the gates, realistically, hence the Flair thing. But this was the show that definitively told Hogan as much as anybody else, time
to go on some jet skis.
Yeah, go on a couple of jet skis. And scandal was coming his way because he was the front of it all and lied on Arsenio and all that.
Funny, innit?
Yeah.
Skinner, again. I don't do gimmicks no more. That's because I didn't really draw, but because you were a kid, you think they did.
Don't sleep on Steve Kerrin, they tell you.
Don't sleep on who?
Skinner. That's what they tell me.
Sergeant Slaughter, big star once. He's had his sort of, again, bundle him up with the Sheik. Sid Justice, you want him to be more of a star than he was at the time, and he was more cool than Hogan, but he ain't no drop.
Sadly.
I love Sid.
Companies
so
always
much.
went with him, but he was,
And the Warlord. The Warlord.
Warlord. Yeah, just a guy. Love him, but just a guy. Just a guy. Just a massive guy. One of my favourite massive guys, but just a guy.
Again, a lot goes into it. Memorable looks, your childhood.
Gosh, you're on about 5. That's even less than I thought. And I agree with you, and I've always thought this, but actually breaking it down wrestler by wrestler, there's even less than I thought.
Yeah, even fewer.
That's right.
I don't know. I can't.
Great bit on that, by the way. I think it's like Tesco or Asda or whatever. 10 items or less. Waitrose, 10 items or fewer. And I just really popped me because I was like, there's your Waitrose podcaster, there's your Tesco's.
Love it.
Feels about right.
Love it. I used to go on pilgrimages to Waitrose to get my pig cheeks ready for Christmas season.
Yeah, the old pig cheeks pilgrimage.
The old pig cheeks pilgrimage, Skeep, City Jones.
Got a thought on something Christmas related when you've wrapped up your thoughts on
I've wrapped up my thoughts. Basically, in summation, your childhood's wrong.
The Rumble, just briefly, because I really enjoy your takedown of the Royal Rumble, despite disagreeing profoundly with it. Like, I get so excited every year for the Rumble, and there's an element of the Men in Black, just forget, like when one's been bad, and in this case, sometimes 2. And you think, well, 60 entrance pops. Then you remember half the music's terrible and you don't get the pop and you don't get the feeling or whatever. And you forget that they can't book them now, and loads of people win from number 1 and number 2, and loads of people go an hour and do nothing. And you forget all of that because it comes around again.
Number 18 comes and you go, who's this?
Yeah.
It could even be a boat.
Yeah. Every year, right? There's that loop.
It's a genius step. It really is.
It strikes me as, when you just look at me, partially with disdain, but also with confusion. It's like,
I'm often incredulous.
Yeah. Hamflett, how can you not like Christmas / international football tournaments? And I could say to you, well, Sidge, deep in the guts of these things, it's often bad. And you could be like, yeah, but I forget that. And then every year it comes around again. That's me in the Rumble. Like, that's me in the Royal Rumble. In spite of the reasonable arguments and lots of evidence backing it up. It's like, how can you not get excited about the fight you're going to have with your family members, or that one game in the middle of the tournament where you're just desperately sad because your team's going out? Or it's like, there's no jeopardy
in the last round of group fixtures because
it's like, because I forgot.
Everyone's already through or eliminated.
It's been 12 sweet months and I've forgotten everything. It's Rumble.
20 foul.
Rumble season.
20 foul for the football tournaments, man.
I have you know what? I'm gonna drop this in place of one of mine that I was going to bring up because I brought it before in a million podcasts. I don't think there's really much debate. It's a musical, subjective one. I think.
You think
Ride the Valkyries is better than Final Countdown for Brian Danielson / Daniel Bryan's music, and I always have thought that as well. I just don't have the Ring of Honor nostalgia for the Final Countdown, and I don't like the song.
I have that and my stupid 80s of fixation.
Yeah, it's got like two things working against it for me.
Yeah.
But again, it's a bit of a lightweight one, that, and it's allows me to kind of like piggyback your Rumble 1992 one with a show that has a lot of similarities and the same arguments are made, and I'm watching it constantly thinking, I just disagree and I think everybody's wrong.
War Games.
WrestleMania 19.
It
is another case where the video, not so much the video cover, because that's the Space Needle and Vince and Hogan, but on the back, if you flip it over and you look at the card and you see that image of all the wrestlers surrounding the WrestleMania 19 logo, it's all of them. It's bloody loads of them, maybe apart from Bret Hart.
I've told you my story about WrestleMania 19, haven't you?
Had you switched off for a bit?
I'd switched off for a bit.
Yeah.
The invasion just I was like, oh, it stinks. Yep. Absolutely stinks. Can't be arsed with it. They've absolutely buggered it. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to stop watching. And I didn't keep up with it for a long time. And then I was in HMV and I saw WrestleMania 19. And I just went, what? The business is back. And look at this match. It was like one of those, like, Shawn Michaels is back. Rock and Austin are wrestling together again. Booker T's in a title match.
Yeah.
And I had no idea who Brock Lesnar was. So it's like...
So he's a headline guy.
That's the thing. It's like they've got someone even bigger than Rock, Austin, a returning Shawn Michaels, and da-da-da-da-da-da. I was like, I couldn't wait. Because the HMV, which is like a music store, it was on like the Newcastle City Centre, Main Street, Northumberland Street, and my bus stop was just at the bottom. So I couldn't wait to pop this in the DVD player, or the PS2 as it would have been. And I was like, really good this. Something's missing.
Mm-hmm. That's it. Something's missing. Everything about the Fed's missing. It's 2003. But that card is substantially worse than the sum of its parts. Aesthetically, one of the most beautiful WrestleManias ever. I passed Safeco Field on a train this year with a tear in my eye. Honest to God. Drank in a bar near it just to go and stare at it for a bit because it means something to me. But that's my only happy memory of that show outside of Shawn Michaels and Chris Jericho. And as the years pass, I imagine that match will start to like fade as well. Brock and Kurt Angle is not only a big disappointment, but it's probably the weakest of all their high-profile matches. Yeah. They do way better on TV and at SummerSlam later in the year. Botch aside, which I think is obviously going to
I mean, it's completely understandable. Angle should not have been in that.
No,
ring.
Yeah,
and that's another point. It's depressing.
The anxiety and the whole thing plays with you, I think, when you're watching that. The reason I think Hogan and Vince is as beloved as it is because it is a victory for age.
And I'm sorry, it's pretty good.
Yeah, and all the old tricks, right? But I think that it's a necessity on that card. I think that card is badly lacking the majesty and the bollocks of WrestleMania, and I think that match actually provides it. Austin and Rock,
Rock spends half of it covering for the fact that Austin is a mess.
I think
if they had a match on the last night of a European tour, it looks like the first half of that.
Well, for somebody, I consider myself somebody that when it comes to sentiment, I skew positive rather than negative. I would rather like lean into sentimentality and be like, rather than, That's the opposite in that match. I'm watching, like one guy's done.
Yeah.
The other guy's like mentally and emotionally done. Hollywood is his now. Like both of them are there, portraying The Rock and Steve Austin. They're not actually The Rock and Steve Austin, and it's. I just find it a bit bleak. Booker T and Triple H. Obviously, that kind of goes without saying, like an all-time low, if not the all-time low.
One of the worst, if not the worst, creative moment in wrestling history.
Doesn't get considered on that.
23 seconds, man.
Like on those terms.
To get to that pedigree, it's 23 seconds.
Like that now on that card would be this, like if we were analysing this for a podcast in 2025, like a good show, but there was that thing in the middle. And like people don't speak about WrestleMania 19 as that's a big enough anchor to pull down all of this, by the way. Rey Mysterio and Matt Hardy, got 4 minutes or something. That's a piss take at WrestleMania.
I will say, as a guy who cannot sanction the existence of Matt Hardy for the time they're given, it rips.
An insult. It's really good, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
But
really
it has
good.
to be because I quite like the women's title match on there and Jericho and Shawn. But there is a bleak quality to. You kept thinking you were watching in 2002 the end of the good times, but then this one show, this WrestleMania, should have worked very hard to hide that with the sheer amount of stars and the amount of big names interacting and all that kind of stuff. And it does the opposite. It really is the end. All of these things have ended.
Yeah.
Like everything you think you liked has gone, with the one exception of Shawn Michaels, who might come back better than ever.
Yeah.
And that would stand true in the aughts of like.
That was like the theme on it.
Thank God Shawn Michaels is around. Not any new guys. Rubbish. Mostly rubbish. John Cena and Batista. Otherwise, mostly rubbish.
Almost the theme of the decade.
Yeah.
Almost the theme of the decade. Another thing as well, I can't remember the specific...
But people love WrestleMania 19, hence why I thought it was worth it.
No, definitely. People love it. People love it. It's always held aloft, like when WrestleMania season comes around and the Reddit threads and the X posts pop up, and it's like, it's always listed as one of the best ones. I'm with you. I can't even remember the combination of the match. It's a triple threat tag, but even the SmackDown 6 are just good.
Aye, world's greatest tag team, Benoit and Rhino and Los Guerreros.
Aye.
That's a throw it on the card match if there was. Because one of the reasons is because Chris Benoit was being kept on ice in case Angle couldn't work.
Yeah.
And shouldn't have done maybe. Dr. Joe was the guy that was like, get through that and then I'll stick some needles in you and be back by August.
The footage of Angle after that show is absolutely harrowing.
Best thing about WrestleMania 19 was that they put the cameras on, and the year later you got the Mania of WrestleMania. It's not an easy watch, but it's one of the first times they did what we now consider that like 24 WWE documentary style thing, and it's quite remarkable. They'll
film everything.
Yeah, it's quite a remarkable thing to watch, but a lot of people going through the ringer on that.
It's a show that probably shouldn't have happened, let alone one of the best ones ever, realistically. Right, number 2 for me for Sacrilege Corner. Paul Heyman isn't just overrated, he's actively bad. Right. Paul Heyman, I would argue, this is as pretentious as it is hyperbolic. Paul Heyman is anti-art. Art, to a degree, I know it's wrestling and it's broad, and you have to, like, project. They're even poorer up there. These marks that we just generally hold in contempt. Those ones up there at the top of the building, they're even poorer than these schlubs in the front row. So just be massively broad. Project, make nothing. That's why I generally understand why some people aren't fans of his approach or his even execution. It's why I'm so glad for the relative subtleties of someone like a Hangman Page, Paul Heyman, for me, is anti-art. This idea, I cannot sanction, I cannot even fathom, that he is great because you can tell precisely what he's doing at all times, drives me nuts. His exposition of a face drives me insane. The complete over-exaggeration. The idea that if you took the principles of Paul Heyman's performance in prestige television or actual good cinema, and an actor did that, a director would go, what the hell are you doing?
Can you do it properly, please?
Can you do it properly? He is the most ridiculous, obvious, distracting performer I think I've watched in decades.
When did it turn for you?
I will say, I understand why he has the cult thing. And it's one of those, it's like, nostalgia will carry people a long way. Paul Heyman, even with the Brock stuff, when he doesn't have to... I liked the Heyman and Punk act, and I would like to have seen them together in a better booked era. And B, even if you can't have that, I'd have liked to have seen them 2 years earlier. So they're not doing 25 minutes on the 3-hour Raws, because they were like the big heel act at the advent of 2012 3-hour Raws, and they were on TV a lot. I was a massive CM Punk fan at the time. And even I'm like, oh, come on, lads. You're on it a lot, and this is a bit much. But I loved their smug, completely above it all attitude, what they exuded. I thought there was something to that act, but I just got way too much of it very early.
They were for the jaded millennials that hated pretty much everything else WWE were doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So I liked Heyman, the smugness, that above it all. He's always had a great face, but the problem is he flanderized himself 1,000 times over as the years went on and on and on.
You were in the building when the streak got broke. Did you like him there? What's your memories?
I thought he was incredible.
Yeah.
I thought he was incredible when the streak broke. Like, that's probably his best night as a performer.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's much better as a booker for me and a creative. But even when I go back and watch like the Dangerous Alliance and his manager work, and I've got the same vibe from the other great managers of yore. I think Jimmy Hart's better than Paul Heyman, to be perfectly honest with you. It's like someone you just don't like and just want to see get slapped or whatever. Like, I think it was the Bloodline. The Brock stuff, ladies and gentlemen, it's not a prediction, it's a spoiler. I thought he was unbelievable at WrestleMania 30 because he knew the finish and he had to pretend he didn't. He'd just seen like an alien landing and he did it to perfection. To perfection. Maybe a little bit too much. You could have let the initial register, but it's Heyman, it's wrestling, it's fine. You need to distinguish him from the fans who are like, what? It's this, my tribal chief, sir, my tribal chief, like cowering in fear at the tribal chief, or like, oh my God, the tribal chief is going to lose a match, even though I know the Usos are coming. If I know the Usos are coming out 2 minutes when it looks like Roman Reigns in a degree of danger, why is Paul Heyman acting every single night like he's, left the stove on and he's going to burn his house down? You know what I mean? I just can't stand him. The idea of how you can tell what he's doing at all times, that doesn't make it good.
No. I don't have mixed feelings on this. I share your loyalty. I share most people's loyalty to Paul Heyman as a booker.
I will say, as the years unfold and you really learn a lot about what a piece of trash he was.
Yeah.
It's one of those where art from the artist separate. It's difficult with him. What a trash bag.
Yeah. The bad egg moves were kind of not brushed aside, but they were almost laughed about. You can visualize the wrestlers going boo for the bounce checks.
Yeah.
But
and
the stuff like that destroyed people's lives.
It destroyed people's lives. But the thing is as well, Paul Heyman, I know he wasn't as bad as Vince on that scale. If someone like that was just a performer in wrestling and ECW never happened, and, or he owned the USWA. Yeah. Unfashionable quasi-territory in 1996, and he goes on like that, you'd think ECW was cool. That's the difference, Yeah. But as a performer, where do you sit on him? Because you don't like him no more, really.
I don't really like him no more. I definitely didn't enjoy his contributions to the Bloodline other than it was him. It's weird with Paul Heyman. He definitely commands a certain, inbuilt respect as I don't know. I kind of wish he was a statue rather than a living, breathing human.
Yeah.
If the stables...
He's the opposite of a statue, bro. He is the opposite of a statue.
If the Paul Heyman stamp of approval means something, and he's orchestrated that. He's a smart, shrewd political operator.
One of the smartest.
And when the act fails, he makes sure that it's because of the act and not him. So Curtis Axel and Cesaro and Ryback is on them.
Yeah.
Not on him. Roman, Punk, Brock, etc. is on him, not them. That's very, very smart business from Paul Heyman.
Roman even pointed it out on Raw that we watched on the 22nd of July.
Yes.
21st.
And part of me admires that because I then find it very easy to buy into the Paul Heyman stamp of approval.
Yeah.
But the Paul Heyman performance has long become a self-parody. Long. There is a point where I would even say when he was with Brock, at the tail end
It
where
was the same every week.
yeah, I went off the promos first. The ringside stuff really started to bother me during the Roman run, but the promos I went off during the Brock stuff because the promo style felt as phoned in as Lesnar's mercenary act itself.
Yeah.
Like he was just saying the same stuff or lingering on certain points or laboring on things. And there was a real eye-opener for me. I remember, like, this seems like a lifetime ago now, but I remember watching the footage of Paul Heyman doing his speech after the fantastic AJ Styles Brock Lesnar match from the 2017 Survivor Series. And Paul Heyman cuts a promo that exists for like a digital short.
Is this where he's going, yeah, Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, rolled into one?
Yeah. And AJ,
Even they are not as good as the great AJ Styles.
If you were a fan, sir, of Bret Hart, if you were a fan, he does that thing where all these stupid guys do it. Dreamer does it, Bully Ray does it, where they stretch out a sentence into like 3 bullet points in order to make themselves sound more profound. If you were this, if you were this, if you were this, then AJ Styles is your guy. He was unsuccessful against Brock, but like he's the guy. Stick with him. And then I remember there was a 24 documentary where the camera pans out and AJ's in the room. And he's obviously doing it just to like blow smoke up AJ's ass. But you're supposed to watch.
And they had a falling out as well, didn't they?
They did, didn't they? Yeah. Paul Heyman told some lies. Can you believe that? Like, I remember watching that, and before I'd even seen the pull back and reveal of AJ in the room, I said, "Don't work me, mate. Don't work me. You're doing your Paul Heyman spiel. This feels obligatory, which means the words are now empty. The words are hollow, and as a result, I just like what he represents as a bit of like as a living legend in wrestling. I like what he represents more than I like his performance. So I would disagree that he's So I'm
saying I think he's overrated. He's actively bad.
I think he's actively bad now. I think he's about right rated.
Yeah.
I think the stuff Paul Heyman is celebrated for warrants celebration. I think if you like his promo style in 2025, you've got bad taste.
Yeah.
I think that's where I'm at with Paul Heyman currently. I can see why him aligning with Seth Rollins is sort of stuff to send your head into space.
Yeah.
Like, that's a nightmare.
That's
a nightmare blunt rotation, as Snoody Ready people say. I can see why you would really struggle to get through a row with those two together.
What a nightmare. Well, to me, to you.
What, I love go on the jingle again. I love the jingle for this podcast.
Don't hurt me.
Sacrilege Corner.
The guy that you do the impression of about to get in the ring with Vader. Because I think he kind of sucks. And him throwing spuds out there all the time and knocking people about.
I just want to get across this. I vehemently disagree.
Was one of the many reasons why Vader got over in the periods where he was a wholly unique figure in pro wrestling. I think
he's a little bit too real for you.
I think he's just massively overrated. I think his best work, and it's really easy to do this in wrestling, so I don't mean this to be such a sort of like lazy argument. I think his best work for me in North America, I'll be totally frank with you, I cannot speak enough about what he did in Japan. So I'm talking about as a North American top star for WCW and WWE primarily.
His UWFI stuff's pretty goddamn cool.
I am not surprised because half the time he was applying that as a worked pro wrestler. He's out there smashing people's faces at his peak. A lot of people can do that. Maybe try and pull your punches. Like maybe do a worked punch as impressive as a Mr. Jerry Lawler, sir, or a Bret Hitman Hart, perhaps.
No, Bret. No, you know the difference. You've been bad faith there. The difference is that Bret Hart is all about technique and execution. Yeah. Vader's a wild animal in there.
Yeah. So already that's.
So I love like that.
Yeah, it's a style I like less.
Up in the ears. I love it, man.
What are we doing? It's not real, mate. Chill out. Like, so already that's kind of a mark against. But some of the best stuff he's done for my money would be against the likes of Sting and Cactus Jack.
That's it. I mean, that's all-time great wrestling fare.
Yep. And Sting and Cactus Jack did that for so many guys. Cactus Jack especially. Like, do you know who else had all-time great wrestling fare with Mick Foley? Was the friggin' Undertaker, was Randy Orton, was Triple H. I'm not naming people that you would consider on a par with Vader, but that was the power of Mick Foley, and the format wasn't that different. Knock the living out of this man, and you'll get somewhere with it. And in doing so, I think if you don't credit Vader and you don't credit The Undertaker and Randy Orton and Triple H for their half of it, then you're being unfair to them. You're doing them a disservice. But there is a common denominator there in Mick Foley. Likewise, there is a common denominator in Sting. And Sting, when you watch those Vader matches, you realise what a special performance.
Oh, God, he was incredible.
Because there is frankly no right for a guy that flies like 96 Shawn Michaels to have the believable power of the believable crowd control of Hulk Hogan and the believable physical strength of the Ultimate Warrior, and he puts it all together.
Yeah.
And that's how he fights Vader, and they're incredible. Like, my favourite is, I know that the Vader dominating Sting and Sting not being ready for it formula is the one that people love the most. I love and recently rewatched the Starrcade 92 one.
Oh, my God.
Momentum shift every 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, and it is just simply, I'm stronger and tougher than you, Sting. You cannot beat me.
Yeah.
I've got more fight. I've got more endurance. It's like
it's almost a perfect pro wrestling match.
Yeah, it never ever lets up, and like that's my favorite Vader match by a country mile, because it doesn't find Vader just on top the entire time. It finds a guy in Sting that finds a way to like meet his power and beat him. And too often I didn't get that from Vader. There's a few big men from that era that ultimately I like less now than I ever did as well. I've gone off Bam Bam Bigelow. I like
Bam, don't hurt me. I find a little bit overrated because I never got the sort of don't piss that big wild animal in that ring off aura. That word is the most bastardized word in all of discourse, really. Whatever your interests are in, Vader had it so much.
He had aura. He did have aura. Now let's get to the most important thing in any wrestler's career.
The Fed run.
The Fed run. Now, I'm being flippant there, but we will get to that in a bit. Vader's Fed run is, and I guess this comes into your next one as well, is a mark against Vader exactly as much as it is a mark against the WWF. And I think I understand why, because we've all had favourites that have bad runs, and you feel like personally aggrieved that things haven't gone the way you wanted them to go for that wrestler because of the whatever like mental landscape you imagine them having and being able to walk into and work amongst. Vader comes in injured, comes in hurt, less than ideal. Like that's not what you want.
Unbelievable angle.
The Rumble and the night after the Rumble, when they know they've signed an injured guy, could not have done more to make this guy look like somebody that's going to tear this company to pieces.
Yeah.
Right? Like they've told you from the Rumble and the following night's Rumble, even though he's about to go off for shoulder surgery, that Bret Hart / Shawn Michaels needs to be afraid because this guy's going to take their title at the first opportunity, right? Everybody in that era fell afoul of some version of standards and practices and politics. Everybody did, right? And the idea is you navigate that. But where Vader failed to navigate politics, I can forgive. Where I'm less forgiving and less patient is how where the aura diminished because of how he like stopped taking care of himself as much.
He did.
And how his overcorrection of what it meant to like adjust to a WWE style, I don't think has to be a bad thing. I think there are plenty of wrestlers that have adjusted to a WWE style, whatever that even is. I know that changes, but you get what I'm saying. There are plenty of wrestlers that have adjusted to a WWE style and have become a different, entertaining version of themselves. And all it's done is highlight just how incredible they are as pro wrestlers because they get what the audience relationship is different. They get how the psychology and the laying out of a match can be different. And they get how the type of wrestlers you're working with might require, I don't know, a little bit of flexibility, should we say. And I think too often Vader's failure to show that revealed to me his failure as one of the greats. I think Vader, in North America, has a fabulous
peak.
18 months atop a promotion. Like a load of guys have fabulous 18 months and then not even held in that high regard as the years go by. And that's for me, just Vader sits there.
For me, I understand that his peaks are stratospheric. I don't necessarily want to watch the same wrestler over and over and over again for years and years and years. I would rather, I've talked about this before, sample something, bore you, move on to another hobby, another genre. I've watched a lot of films, actually. I'm sick of them. I can just flit. So I'd rather watch the very best of what something has to offer. And I would argue, and it's subjective, that Vader reaches that peak. I understand the Fed stuff, right? I would like it if the WWF of yore, the WWE of today, just be less of itself. Right? It's the WWE-ness of it all that often puts me off.
They exert control.
Yeah, I think it's very reasonable to say, can you not like injure my guys?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like that. It's not the cool thing to say, or the sicko thing of, oh God, it's lame. Vader was cool. You know, that recklessness, that like real violence, how stiff he is. You want to, I do genuinely enjoy that. But if you're going to be less cool and far more pragmatic about things, could you just ease off my top guys? It's kind of a totally valid critique of why someone was positioned at the level that Vader was in the Fed. It's just like, I want to believe that someone has got the layers of just big match drama, while I'll gravitate to an Omega or a Misawa, right? Or you're so spectacular that I just can't believe what I'm watching, Young Bucks Ospreay. You're so technically proficient that I can believe in this moment that you are going hold for hold. Danielson, to a lesser degree, Sabre Jr., Brett. And if I want to see, I think that this thing I'm watching that was taped decades ago in 1992 or 1993, and I know the result, but in that moment, I think someone's going to get killed in that ring. I want to watch Vader. You know what I mean? I want that. That's the highs that I speak about.
There's an aura point, and then we can wrap this one. But it's sort of like
when he's clubbing people in the ear, I can feel it. Because he's got a presence. He's not just being reckless. It's like he can own that screen.
I think his cards were always going to be marked to me on account of the age I was when I saw him at what I was being told was his best, which was in the WWE, and it wasn't. But you were watching at the time. You speak of aura. You watched Vader in the summer of 1996 have his aura clean stolen from him by Sid, the guy with the lightest punches in the game.
Yeah.
Like, he basically walked back into town, replacing the Ultimate Warrior for a oneer, and was like, I think I'll take that push. He did. And like, looked the part for it as well. Like, the fans were just him. They were telling the company, and Sid didn't draw either, but it was like, him. He's the guy. And like, they couldn't be further from each other in terms of like strike connection. Or like how, like, Sid is the guy, but like, who's the dangerous one of the two? It's Vader. It's like, out of the way, yo. Sid's back. Yeah. Like that to me, like, that will always stick with me as the sort of that aura thing as well. Also, what's his babyface credentials? Because he was a total stinker as a babyface in WWE. It never happened in WCW because he fell out. He got Paul Orndorff knocked him on his ass in flip-flops. So that was him done. But like, what, Japan, UWFI, whatever.
I mean, I've only cherry-picked the very best, like the Takada matches, etc. He does the 1999 All Japan run. His New Japan, he's like a total like foreign menace invader heel. It's probably more like there's less of that dynamic in Japan generally, but like particularly in the UWFI, because it's like, it's the most shoot style. We don't perform morality plays here. We kick the shit out of each other, but we work it, you know? So it's a lot more fluid over there. But no, I mean, it's not a babyface though. It's not it's like Vader.
I like my blend range. I want to say a bit of that.
What else you got?
It's my favorite thing about it. It's my favorite thing. It's my favorite individual trait about Bryan Danielson, more than any of his amazing matches, is that he literally can do it all. Yeah. And more wrestlers haven't been able to prove it in the way that he has. Yeah. I find that so impressive.
Nice.
That's who he is.
Because he's the second best wrestler of all time, of course.
We agree.
Not every wrestler, however, is Bryan Danielson, leading me to my third and final entry into Sacrilege Corner. Some wrestlers are bad / have failed, and it's not the booker's fault. Here's where I think this... Everyone's got their favorites, so that's a big part of what goes into this sort of thing, right? Some people are like fundamentally obsessed with their favorite wrestlers to a quite terrifying parasocial extent, right? That happens generally, even if you're not completely nutso. It still happens where you're just gonna, no, my favorite wrestler should be being used. Yeah, that's always
the
gonna
point
exist.
To an extent, isn't it? They're supposed to sell themselves to you, you know.
Another thing of this is that because Vince McMahon, promotional genius at his very best, obviously, was so terrible at his job for so long. Lucky for him, he killed his competition before his brain turned into soup. It was always, well, it's the booker's fault. It's the booker's fault. All these wrestlers are great, and it's the promoter's job to get, everything out of this wrestler. And it's sort of post-Vince, this idea still persists that 199 times out of 1,000, it is the booker's fault.
Yeah.
I push back on that massively. It comes up, it came up most recently, but it comes up all the time when someone, because not everyone can be a wrestling star, Deonna Purrazzo had one of the worst inexplicable Dynamite main events ever before she was even signed full-time. She signs full-time. She gets the pretty big fanfare, gets the big Toni Storm match straight away. It's not good at all. She then does very little else beyond some half-decent, but no one really remembers, matches against Toni Storm. Mm-hmm. She's either a good wrestler in a confidence crisis, a good wrestler in the wrong promotion, and that happens, or she's not a good wrestler. What struck me about that Purrazzo run, which is calling herself the virtuosa, the technical, it's a good inspired bit, because even in this, the last decade, there's been a strong emphasis on women's wrestling. I know what AJW is, okay? I know what the Crush Gals, I know them. I'm saying in mainstream US wrestling, it's only been taken seriously for a decade.
Yeah.
Okay. And there's so much range to explore. It's one of the reasons why I would really emphasize women's wrestling as the key thing of it now, because you've had very few hosses in the last 10 years. I know who Aja Kong is. Raquel Rodriguez, Nyla Rose, Nia Jax. You can still do more of that. Still a relative novelty.
Yeah.
Deonna Purrazzo had a really strong idea to be, I'll be the Sublime technician then. No one's kind of done that. Bayley's a pure of heart babyface. Charlotte Flair's this she wrestles like a dad, this big match wrestler and all the rest of it. There's terrain you could still explore. Deonna Purrazzo I thought was shrewd. I'll be the technical wrestler, okay? On her own terms, I don't think she's that great a technical wrestler, but she does technical wrestling, and I think it's savvy, because it was no one does that in the women's scene, really. At least not in, TNA, Fed, Dub. She was wrestling on Dynamite on the same night as Bryan Danielson.
Mm-hmm.
How, the gimmick was very shrewd, but when there's competition for it, you're going to get monumentally outclassed, and you're not going to have much in the way of credibility. And there was a lot of furore over her not getting a spot at All in Texas. I don't really follow any of this drama that closely anymore, but I think there's been hints and cryptic teasers that she's not altogether happy,
Okay.
And she's one of those wrestlers who goes, I'm amazing, I'm just not getting booked. I don't buy that anymore. My potential haunts me. I'm Mustafa Ali, and I should have headlined WrestleMania. Really?
Yeah.
What? Go on then. Leave. Prove yourself. You didn't. You know what I mean? It's I genuinely get annoyed. It's become just another corny trick. All right, okay, well, I've had these moments. I'm not saying Deonna Purrazzo's never had good matches. Really, I'm not saying that at all. She had one really famous one in 2020.
Yeah, TNA. It's Jordan Grace?
I think it was Jordan Grace, yeah. Where you can have that moment and milk it. Like the Ali stuff with Daniel Bryan.
Mm-hmm.
Been dining out on that for about...
None of these people are Toni Storm, though. None of these people are leaving, going, doing it, and your record doesn't have to be perfect, but you have to prove that you can make it and have the metal and the quality.
At a certain point, if you're Mustafa Ali and you've had that, it must have been shocking from you thinking you're going to get a WrestleMania World Title match, and you're living through 2020 WWE and you can't get on TV. You must be tearing your hair out.
Yep.
But at the same time, you can't dine out on that stuff for 3 years. Ziggler was like, put me in the ring and I'll give you a great match. Who doesn't? It's 2017, mate. Kenny Omega's about. Step up.
Yeah.
I know this is a different thing. This is more like an ick rather than a contrarian opinion. But I hate this whole my potential haunts me genre of pro wrestler. Go and prove it to me. Go and prove it to me. Deonna Purrazzo hasn't been good in AEW, and I don't think it's Tony Khan's fault. I reckon if you put her in 12 consecutive Dynamite, she's not going to go on a hot streak.
Yeah.
So what does it matter? It's complicated by the lack of parity and representation in the AEW women's division. But let's talk about where that isn't a factor. The men's Wardlow, like the amount of people like, he's fumbled Wardlow. Wardlow had several opportunities to prove. At some point, you got to go quite long. Great squash match worker, but especially in a promotion like AEW, at some point, if you're going to be the big star, minimum of 15, 20 minutes on main event, every time Wardlow wasn't carefully presented as a heater or had the smoke and mirrors of a squash match, every time he went 12 to 15, he looked actively not great. Like, he had a match against Samoa Joe. That was his last big one. Yeah. And maybe he was nursing a knee injury during that one, but there's others where he didn't really do that well, where he was like throwing Joe into the barricade and he was just sort of like moving his arms a little bit. Like, pretend you've used that muscle you've got. Instinctively, not a very good pro wrestler, I don't think, Wardlow. But again, Tony Khan gave him an unbelievable assist.
Yeah.
And I don't think he scored the tap in.
It's made worse when there is such mounting objective evidence that the booker is or has tried. I think that's the one for me.
Yeah.
I think of like wrestlers that at various points I have loved so much, as in I think I love this match or this wrestler and what they're doing right now more than anything I've ever loved before. And I think the two examples for me that stick out in WWE right now are DIY and Bayley. You cannot argue that Triple H has tried and tried and tried and tried and tried to get them over, keep them over, make them the top stars. And I don't know, maybe Bayley's turned the corner right now, but there's been enough time where she's not been at it. And DIY have been heels, they've been baby faces, they've been singles, they've been tags, they've been everything but split on the main roster. There's no pap. There's no, like,
That's right, no pap.
The matches happen. Some of them are really critically acclaimed in the moment, and then they're forgotten about before you've even got a month later. They don't leave any kind of impression anymore. DIY.
They've got no cultural footprint.
Presence on television is high because they are pushed, whatever that means. They are pushed / protected / looked after creatively. You can imagine Triple H in his long list of wrestlers, like what we got for Bayley, what we got for DIY. And the same with Tony Khan and Wardlow. You know, there's like, what have we got for this person? It'd be one thing. I get your point about the Deonna Purrazzo thing, where it's tricky when you're speaking of women on North American TV because it's already a bit of like there's already hurdles. Yeah. The last thing you need to do is place a few more in their way. However, it's like, well, when there's enough evidence to suggest there was this, and this, it also should be a case to be like, I don't think this is a fit.
Yeah.
I think maybe somewhere else could be the place for you.
I think Deonna Purrazzo looked really good in a division with not as much actual in-ring talent. And as I said,
that's okay, by the way, because people should find their role.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I thought she did a tremendous job marketing herself, a really tremendous job. And I personally think it got exposed.
Should we do my last one? Because it does fold into...
You've got two.
Well, it sort of folds in... they can kind of be folded together here, right? And I'm a big enough man to admit that. So my one's a bit of a fun one, gang. It's that WCW was better than WWE for 1 month ever. And that month was February 2001, which discounts the 83-week winning streak, which discounts the critically acclaimed 1989 of WCW. It discounts, let's say, 1995, when a lot of people don't like the Fed, and WCW at least pillaged ECW's best talents for the likes of the Cruiserweights and the Luchas and whatnot.
Yeah, but 1995, WCW's got the Dungeon of Doom all
yeah. Like,
it's piss.
I'm trying to find examples where WCW could absolutely be isolated for praise. You know, like Kip Allen Frey's 1992, the bits that people liked about Bill Watts turning the clock back. There'll be various points of WCW's history where, like, if you're a WCW fan, and this kind of feeds into my second one.
Summer of 1996.
Yep, I think that's better. Like,
I mean, the very infamous summer of 1996.
Yep. Yeah, well, do you know what happens in the summer of 1996? Like, the landscape is created for Stone Cold Steve Austin to be the best version of himself. Like, that's better than anything WCW ever did, full stop.
Yeah, true. True.
So better. Like,
true, but
I'm giving them February 2001 because I'd rather see the Cruiserweight tag division than The Rock and Steve Austin's WrestleMania build get bodged. Like, I quite like the Magnificent Seven more than I like the Undertaker and Kane as tag partners. Like,
the NWO, bro.
Yeah.
The NWO in 1996, the idea, that transgressive feel,
yeah.
you cannot tell me SummerSlam 1996 is better than that.
No, but I also can give you 3 matches in August 1996 and July 1996 by Shawn Michaels alone that is better than anything that WCW puts on all year.
It's not about the matches, though, is it?
It's about all of it.
It's not about the matches, though, is it, Michael?
It's about the whole, you're not looking at the whole pie. You're not looking at the whole pie, Jenny. Like, it's about all of it.
I'll remind you this on the next time we review a Fed product.
Shawn Michaels is, this is why he's better than all your favourites, because it was never just the matches of Shawn Michaels. Of course, he's this perfect sports entertainer in every single regard. Like, that's why he's one of the best. That's why he's the best and Brett's the best, because they were the best wrestlers and the best sports entertainers, and they brought it all together. And so few ever did, right? Especially didn't in WCW, because half of it wasn't even important, right? Eric Bischoff himself will tell you before 83 weeks, the podcast became insufferable listening. When it was actually good for like 6 weeks. They all have those good 6 weeks.
Yeah.
He was the first to admit, when he didn't have a grift to run, that WCW was a bad Finnish company, and he wished he had Finnish people as talented as
Pat Patterson
in the 90s, for example. But historically, WWE's either known its way around a finish.
Nash is always saying this as well.
Yeah.
Like, what's the finish? They didn't even know what it was going to be half the time.
Aye, because they weren't looking at the whole pie, Jenny.
Yeah.
Like, they knew that Wrestler and Wrestler B could put the stuff together. Very Flair, Steamboat orientated, but across their board, and not everyone was Flair, Steamboat. Call it when we get out there. Like, you should probably tell Evad Sullivan where this is going. You know, like, he's not Ric Flair, he's not Ricky Steamboat, whatever. He's not Sting. Promos, the production of promos. I like my product polished. And WCW's style of wrestlers kind of just running out of road.
Production kicked their ass in 96. WCW production kicked their ass in 96.
Do you know what production kicked WWE's ass? The girder that the Nitro logo hung on. And then, depending on the building we're in, the 3 Raw letters look better. Like,
but the bit where Hall, the very famous scene, Nash's debut.
Yeah.
Hall's like, look behind you, and then the palm back.
Yeah.
The sense of disruption, the idea that they're going at the production trucks, the fact that the cameras have to chase Jimmy Hart, who's like, what's that on the bag?
Yeah.
And that the lawn dart, like, they are pioneering new ground.
Tearing up the format. Absolutely tearing up the format. Don't disagree in the slightest. Watch the Nitros. It still doesn't work as well as it could. It doesn't work as well as it could.
I've watched the Nitros.
Pillman and Austin, 2 months after that, where it's a taped Raw with live cut-ins from the Austin Pillman stuff, with occasional moments where some of the promos have to be, I think the promos are taped, some of the matches have to be live. Murders those Nitros as a dramatic hour/90 minutes of television. Murders them. It's slicker. The Fed are better at it, right? That's the whole point. Vince McMahon didn't set up his wrestling company to be a wrestling company. Set up to be a TV production company that showed you wrestling, right? So they should be better. They were. Like, it is...
Strong disagree, personally.
WCW, like, the NWO, that idea, that concept, the way that concept initially tore up so many rules.
So you're saying WCW...
Eric Bischoff revealing that Shawn beats the big guy with 3 super kicks sends, like, lightning bolts up my arm. I love that feeling. Hang on. Like, but this loser's doing a wrestling show in a shopping mall. How is he doing? Like, that disruptor mentality, I think, is amazing. And I think you can absolutely pick on flashpoints between the launch of Nitro in September 95 and the realistic peak of the NWO, which is already kind of passed by 1997. The NWO burns out quicker than people
it
realize.
does, yeah.
Like, commercially, it doesn't, obviously. Powers
Yeah.
WCW into, like, 1998 is still a very, like, it's the all-time year of business for WCW. Booms.
63 million revenue or whatever it is, yeah.
Booms take a long time to cool. But by 97, like...
It's the same every week.
Yeah, Fed smoking them. Austin
it feels very much like they are almost cordially invited to the building at this point.
The Fed, all that happens is the Fed falls behind. Like, Like
the Fed.
The Fed, it's the best, right? And it's the best for a reason. This is not a subjective thing. They're the market leader for a reason. They're the market leader because they do things the best. And when they fall behind, they steal the concept. So they look at what the other people are doing, and then they take them and they adopt them and they wedge them into their system, and then you get the best version of that. So that's how the Attitude Era robs from ECW. That's how the rise of Steve Austin and the production of things like Livewire and Fake Razor and Diesel being a disaster, the Jim Ross heel turn, and what that reflected about the philosophical shift within the company, and Brian Pillman as a character, and Bret the Hitman Hart whinging about how the landscape has changed and he doesn't like it, and things like that. All that's done is like, ooh, Hall and Nash brought a bit of realism to WCW. Well, we'll just have that, and we'll do it better, and they did. And like, that's why they always win, and that's why they always last longer, and that's why, like...
That's why the cocks are so massive.
Yep. They ain't made of plastic. And that's why it's really cool that Tony Khan's so rich, because AEW will never go away. And it's the only time that's happened. It's the only time, and we are in, like, we're past Nitro, right? So we're going to pass WCW going out of business fairly soon. This has never happened previously. TNA has never counted. It'll never count. Bischoff, it'll never count, right?
Geary. LaBar.
It'll take us to like constantly new uncharted territories, in that the money will always be there for AEW. They will always be able to compete. And I love that, because I don't know how high AEW can fly, because no other company has ever been able to, because the Fed flies the highest. That's how it's supposed to be, right? That's why it's Coke. That's why it's Coke. That's why it's Disney. That's why it's McDonald's. Like, these examples are relevant to, and you can't like them when AEW was hotter. Like, that's why these examples are used. When WCW got onto something, it got better when the Fed had it. Like, I would even argue that if you look at, we both agree that Jim Ross is the true uncredited architect of the Attitude Era, correct?
Yes.
Right? So, like, his tastes for talent were molded by Bill Watts, who could not function within WCW's system, the Ted Turner managed system, 1988 to 2001. As a television company, that style of booking could not work as a weekly television show, nor as a pay-per-view model. But Jim Ross could take a bunch of those ideas, concepts, and his incredible commentary talent and generate like the most mainstream wrestling ever was. Why? Because like the World Wrestling Federation was the landscape where that could flourish, even in these supposedly controlled and squashed parameters. Nah, I'm not wrapping it up.
Well, I am, because I'm going to do the podcast after this.
It's about time it got said that the Fed's good, right? But this leads me to my final one. I'm going to fold them in. If I haven't already made this clear, that's why I think it's actually okay to treat a company like a sport team and have a favourite. I kind of don't get why people have such a stick up their arse about this take, right? To be the ultimate sword on the throats one. I can understand not agreeing. That's fine. I don't get why people quite angrily disagree. And like...
The Fed's my Sunderland.
I know that.
I get it the other way around.
You're weird in that regard, because you harbour hatred for both those things that I happen to love.
Yes.
But in a way that I don't send the hatred the other way on either count. Like, so to me, that's a difference in our personalities, and that's nice. That's how the world goes around, mate.
Yeah.
But this weird, pious, pedestal wrestling take of, only watch the Fed, do you? Like... I got bored of that one in friggin' 1999. Like, what else you got? Like, it doesn't impress me. If you watch more, you are entitled to watch what you want. You know when you always, like, clarify one of your points by saying your age?
Yes.
I grew out of the idea that if you are not, like, going to your local record shop and leafing through the vinyl until you find the one that nobody else has got, when I was about, like, 19.
Yeah.
I just realised that it was probably going to make me less of an arsehole at parties if I just allowed people to enjoy the music they wanted. And I feel the exact same way about wrestling. And if you're going to enjoy the thing you want, then that to me is like the same as having a favourite band or a favourite sports team or a favourite whatever, because companies at their best are identifiable by the brand. The best WWE is intrinsically WWE, AEW, WCW. It's why TNA sucks and always will, because there is no real TNA, is there?
Yeah.
What is TNA?
A laughing stock.
Yeah, it's a big question.
Well, that's the first thing you think of.
Identity-wise, TNA has never been anything. Ever.
No.
AEW has an identity. WWE identity. WCW identity. TNA doesn't. Ring of Honor in its glory days, 2002, 2004.
Code of Honor.
Identity, right? TNA never had it, and that's why I can't imagine why anyone's a TNA fan. I don't get it. I don't get how that's your promotion. But if it is, like, more power to you. Don't listen to haters and snobs.
We're just looking at our notes here. We've sent each other like a bit of inside baseball. Slack sent each other stuff. You've got one more to go through here. It says the stand-up for WWE campaign was good, actually. I will wrap this up by saying different personality types. I understand where you're coming from, but it's never been like that for me. My journey has been, what's the best one that I like the most? I get icked by things. Like, I got the ick from AEW in 2023. God, it's really pissing me off. God, I've learned all about WWE and I've realized it sucks. God, I can never love that ever again in my life.
I like to sit around and chill. Just sit around and chill and it comes back around.
ROH is, God, it's getting a little bit dull and, they're doing the same trick, or they're putting 10 minutes on the end of every main event. Thank you, Davey Richards. Yeah, I'm bored of this now. 10 minutes on the end of every main event. God, that sounds like New Japan in 2020 and 2021. I'm done with this. More of the thing you're getting bored of. Yeah, that's going to work. I will gravitate towards the next cool thing, and I'll leave you suckasses in the dust. Final parting words from Mr. Jaguar. What is your wrestling take where you're convinced, adamant, you know what, everyone else is wrong? I'm right on this one. Let us know in the comments below or on X at WhatCulture WWE. He might not even bother responding to you because he's off the app, but you can, if you want, follow Michael Hamflett at
Michael Hamflett.
You can follow me at Sidgwick. Do not forget to subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling. Again, this is recorded from the past. It's in the can. I don't know what else, if anything, is going out today, but subscribe because there will be stuff with more regularity after wAcKy Summer is over. Thank you very much to Hamflett for joining me today. Thank you very much for watching and listening. And we will see you soon.